Okay, we are streaming on social media. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Have a nice show.
Thank you, Todd, for the introduction. Hi, David. Welcome to Authenticity. I should say welcome back.
Thank
But
you.
this time it's just going to be you and I, and Todd is not going to join us today. So I'm really looking forward to this connection this day, December 2023. Oh my goodness, what a ride we have been on, David.
And I would say, whatever you think is going on, hold on to your horses and keep your hands inside the ride at all times, because it's gonna get bumpy. Next year is the year of the dragon.
Tell us more. What do you know, David? Tell us. The year of the dragon. What does that mean for ascension, embodiment, and where we're all headed?
Well, dragons are phenomenally incredible beings. They're basically, most of them, not all of them. Dragons are just like us. Some of them have decided that they want to pursue the lower frequency energies, but not all. And dragons usually show up in our lives, not always. Sometimes they show up for specific reasons to assist us with our growth and raising the frequency of our vibration. But sometimes they show up right at the point to where we're just ready to really make a major leap in dissolving our low self and merging it completely again with our soul. And the reason they show up is to go, and I'm paraphrasing and teasing here, oh, so you think you're enlightened, huh? Well, here, let's try this and see how you respond to that. So sometimes they show up just to challenge us so that we can really and truly see where we're at. It may not be a whole lot of fun. It may not be any fun at all, but it's always educational. We always learn about ourselves. We always learn about where we're really at in the moment. I like that wonderful quote by Ram Dass, where he said, "Oh, you think you're enlightened, huh? Go spend a week with your family and come back and tell me how that went." It's kind of that kind of energy.
Yes, I really feel that November, the codes that came in for November for 2024, and then where we're at in December, I really feel like this month and last month is really preparing us and having us check those areas to see, are you enlightened? You know, things will be presented to see how we will respond. Are you able to stay centered?
Yeah.
I had a couple of those this last during November, and so I had to look at a few things. I'm grateful for those moments because sometimes we have to walk through them as they're leaving us, as we acclimatize them. So these moments are very important, and having the dragon appear or be in our lives all around, it just assists us.
And sometimes when we trip and fall, that fall shakes something up, and now it starts to break loose, and it can surface something we haven't been able to feel, that we weren't aware of in previously. So it always turns out to be awakening. It always turns out to be beneficial because we discover something, whatever it is, about ourselves.
Very true. I want to take this conversation to the rainbow body. I am aware that you had a course this weekend or a class, I wasn't able to attend. I was doing some other appointments that I was with. How did that go?
From my perspective, and I've only heard from a few people, and it's too soon to really ask people what that particular class was like, because it takes some time to integrate. From my perspective, it was fabulous, and also understand that working with the rainbow body is not. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do, because what you're really doing is you're preparing yourself to be able to completely dissolve back into source, back into the creator, back into spirit, and take your body back with you rather than leave it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy thing to do, and that's not something that you can come to a class that I or anybody else offers and all of a sudden you're done. No, it's not that. It takes time. Basically, what this is awakening. What the class was awakening that source point in within you, so that you now have the awareness that it's there. Much like tripping and stumbling and falling, and
Mm-hmm.
something cracks open, and now you are able to perceive something that you didn't know was even there before. And now you get the privilege of continuing to work with it and continuing to integrate the light that it brings. So,
have you integrated your rainbow body?
no, I'm not done yet, but I can say for years that every time that I went outside and looked at the stars or the moon, there would always be a full spectrum rainbow aura around the moon and any star that I was looking at. And let's just say, no matter how chronologically old I was at the time, that in my youthful folly at the moment, I went, well, that's the rainbow body. It turns out that what it was just the distortion that was in my eyes because of having cataracts. And once I had cataract surgery, that particular aura is gone. So that's just my story of my sense of being deluded and being able to laugh at myself. But no, it's a long process. Or I should rephrase it. It could be a long process. Historically, it took in Tibet, the training took at least 20 years.
Right. And we had spoke about that on my last show, where I had the experience of, in the spring of 2023, of seeing the rainbow body during an activation and coming back out of the meditation. We spoke about that. And how everything happens in stages. And really, I was speaking earlier to my friend about how it's so fascinating that all the seeds that we planted for germination now, so that we can sprout in the spring, is amazing how it takes that full cycle. Even some of the things that we receive take a full year. You may get an activation and it'll take a full year in linear time for the physicalization of some of those that come in. And we want it now, we want to be activated, and we want to move on with it. And so tell me a little bit about what's been going on with David since the last time we spoke. I know that you went on a road trip. Were you with Helen Quayle?
No, I went to Denver and Denver Boulder, and I did several appearances there, speaking engagements, and then offered a 2-day intensive where we went through most of the classes, not all of them, but most of the classes that I offer in the 3-month Freedom from the Known course in 2 days. So it was really fabulous. And let me comment, I'll step back just a little bit and comment on what you were saying about sometimes it takes, you have to go through a germination cycle. So in terms of working with the rainbow body, we all know that things happen first energetically, they happen spiritually, and then they make their way down into our bodies.
Yeah.
So the all of the higher auric fields and all of the higher light bodies that are above us, they have to receive this energy up and align with it until it gets down to the body. But it starts from the body and then refracts back up. So just like a seed that we put in the ground, in order to germinate, a seed has to go into the darkness underground. It has to. That's a part of its cycle, a part of its germination cycle. And once it's ready to germinate, it doesn't just shoot up towards the light. It sends a root as deep as whatever the particular plant is, sends a root down into the earth, and it stabilizes itself first. Once that's done, then it starts to send a shoot up above ground, and now it becomes visible. And it's as far as I know, it's the same with every single practice that we do. No matter what that is that we have to ground that energy and anchor it with the earth first in order to be able to be stable enough that we can begin to bring it into our nervous system in the body.
To bring it into the physical,
Mm-hmm.
into the physical form. I want to hear more about the Eden template. I want you to talk to us about that. I know that you've embodied this course, and I've heard testimonies from others who have loved your course and love you and what you offer and assist with. Is it evolving as we move into 24?
It's always different. In any class that I offer, if I've offered it once, at least once before, it's never the same. They're always different. And that's because in the moment, when whatever meditation is being offered, and it doesn't matter what that class is, it's a transmission that is in the moment. And it's always different. It's completely different. And it's totally changed me. So it's not so much anymore that I've embodied the Eden template. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. So even though there's a very long and miraculous journey that I went on in order to be able to end up in Africa, to be able to receive everything that came through, really and truly, even if I had not gone to Africa, that still would have happened. It would have taken a completely different form. And trust me, I much prefer the Africa side.
I'm sure.
It was a miraculous journey, and it still continues. It still continues to be as it unfolds. But it is a journey that is always in the moment, and it's not something that I can separate from my beingness anymore. It's not something that I've learned. Yes, the way that it came through when I was in Africa, outside of Nairobi, there's a really huge, I think it's like 144,000 acres, something like that, game park that has every animal in it that is in Africa, including crocodiles and lions and elephants, rhinoceros. Just everything is there. And we were just driving through this game park, just being with the wildlife, and all of a sudden I had to stop and get out of the car because I started receiving a download, and the Eden template came in, and it didn't look like, as it unpacked, and it mostly unpacked that night, but as it unpacked, it doesn't look anything like it did in that particular moment.
Mm.
There are correspondences that are the same. There's always a foundation, like a structural foundation, much like we all have skeletons, and our skeletons pretty much look the same.
Can you describe what that looked like? Can you the download in that moment when you received that? What did it look like?
It came in as a silver sphere that had little tiny flecks of gold on it. And then it opened up, and as it opened up, and that is actually part of the foundational meditation, awakening your original soul blueprint. And as it opened up, then it revealed to me this entire inner journey, which amounts to the meditation that I offer, and all of the steps in it, if you will, the verbiage that is used, those correspond to neuropathways that exist inside all of us. So what it does is, if those pathways are dormant, it begins the process of awakening them, of opening them. I really want to stress this. This is not something that I can give to anybody.
Sure.
All I can do is share it, because it's already present inside everybody. It's everybody's birthright to remember who you are. And this is one of the possible steps that you could take on a journey of beginning the process of remembering who you are.
That's a great reminder for all who are listening and who are going to listen on the replay, is that it is already within us.
Always.
Beautiful statement.
I absolutely love that Ram Dass quote, that all spiritual practices are illusions created by illusionists in order to escape the illusion.
Mm.
And I apply that to myself also. And I actually share that in most of the classes that I offer, and along with the statements. And knowing how much I agree with that, not believe, but agree with it, then what is it that's happening in this class? What is it that I'm offering? And it's not just a meditation. That's just the words that come through in any of the meditations that I offer, really and truly, without denigrating myself in any way, shape, or form. What those mostly do is help the individual person's brain and mind relax and kind of shift into neutral for a little bit, so that they can receive the transmission that is entirely energetic, that is coming through, with the words being the carrier that brings them through.
How long is this process when they're during this course with you? Is it weeks, or is it something you do for a few hours?
Well, each one of the classes lasts approximately 1 to 2 hours. Excuse me. It's an unknown, because I never know what's going to come through. Literally, things have progressed to the point to where, until I actually open my mouth and start to speak, I don't know what I'm going to say. I know a lot of people, and bless them for their ability to do this, that plan what they're going to say. I seem to be completely unable to do that. When I was in college and I took public speaking classes, the only way that I knew how to meet the time requirements that were imposed upon us when we gave speeches was to memorize it and repeat it over and over and over and over by myself to make sure of the timing. I can't do that anymore.
No, I mean, that's because we're all being asked to be present.
I try.
Mm-hmm.
but it never, or I used to try, it doesn't work. So I've given it up now. So it's always interesting. With the meditations themselves, there is a core foundation that's present within each one of them. Kind of like there is a structure or a skeleton that's there, but that's just the skeleton. The moment that the words start to flow, then it starts to build an entirely new body, and it's like crafting the body that we're in now. It takes a little bit to put together all of the muscles and then the organs and the skin and everything else, but our skeletons are pretty much the same. So that seems to be the kind of the way that it is right now. And I'm no longer offering the Freedom from the Known course on it. I've been doing it continuously now for several years. This is the 10th version, that is iteration that's currently going on. And it'll go till the end of December, and then I'm not going to offer it again for maybe 6 months or a year. It seems to be a lot because it's a 3-month course every Saturday for a couple of hours for 3 months. And if you have a family, if you've got kids, that's a lot of commitment to be able to offer. And having for 2 years in a row now gone to Colorado, gone to Denver, Boulder, and offered the entire class as an intensive over a few days, it shows me really clearly people's nervous systems are now ready to be able to receive that much information without overloading any individual, without just burning them out because they plug themselves into a 330 current or a 220 current, whatever it might be. So what I'm going to do is, and I haven't formulated this perfect yet, it hasn't come through what to do yet, that I'm going to start offering, say, 3 or 4 classes as a mini series and break it up into components, offer it over 3 or 4 weeks, but also offer the possibility of doing 3 classes or 4 classes over the course of a weekend. So you do 4 classes, 2 classes on Saturday and 2 classes on Sunday, and do it as obviously at a much lower price than I have in the past, making it more affordable for more people and making it more accessible.
That's beautiful. What made you decide to make it more affordable? What was the process that brought you to that?
Your question makes it sound like I think too much about it.
No, and I don't mean it any way than what I'm trying to say.
And that's my perspective, and I own that. So it seems, whether this is true or not, that the main activity that I have offered has been just this one course. Mm. And so when I go to promote it, then it's all of the material that I send out, whether it's through emails or Facebook or other channels, through video interviews like this. It seems to be that it's always freedom from the known, freedom from the known, freedom from the, and whether this is true or not, it almost seems as if that has become white noise to a lot of people because they see it so frequently.
Right.
And
I want to go back to why I asked you that question, is because like someone from like myself or others who are stepping forth and maybe want to provide sessions or one-on-ones, I've had my own thoughts of how much what is the price? Is there a price, and how do I structure that? People have different amounts for, you have to see how long it is, your time, what is the course that you're offering, and that we're having an equal exchange of energy. And so that's the only reason why I asked you about the price, being more affordable. It's just because I'm thinking of my own, moving forward in some pricing that I want to look at.
Whatever it is that you're charging, it's not enough. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. if you are offering a service that you can help somebody or assist somebody to walk through whatever it is that they're walking through and come out the other side more awake than when they came in,
Sure.
that's priceless. That's priceless. I know people that charge $1,000 for an hour session.
Yeah.
And I personally, I could not do that. But that's more a reflection of who I am internally. I don't think I'm worth $1,000 now.
Mm. So you think price has to do with worth?
Well, with our ability to charge the amount that we are doing. So my sessions are 222, and that has always felt really comfortable for me.
Mm.
And I absolutely know that there is even more value that people receive in it. And at the same time, years and years ago, on my first trip to Kenya, as I was learning a lot of things and receiving a lot of communications, I was told that I could never turn somebody away just because of money.
Sure.
However, there needs to be an exchange.
Right.
And there are people that contact me that are adamant that they should come to whatever it is for free.
Right.
And and that's their only communication. And I usually turn them away. Because usually what I ask them to do is come up with some kind of an exchange.
Sure.
And I don't have preconceptions on what that exchange might be. I have had people send me, one person sent me a Hopi belt buckle. One person sent me these beautiful turquoise beads that you can see me pointing to up here, if I can point. And other people, they can't afford the full price, but they can afford something.
Mhm.
And basically, in a circumstances like that, I feel into the individual and feel the sincerity of their heart. And I accepted from a student that had unusual circumstances, and I accepted a payment of $5 a month throughout the 3 months of the Freedom Course, throughout the 12 weeks. And I felt really balanced in that, because that was literally for them. That was a really big deal. If
And
you
I feel like people are really realizing that it was part of the programming, and it came from religious doctrine. You know, people believed that they didn't, that if you were spiritual or you were doing teachings, that you weren't supposed to be rich. You know, that money wasn't the thing. Was never really associated with wealth. Wasn't really associated with spirituality or with religion. And we're moving away from that. We're realizing that money is an energy exchange.
that's all money is just energy.
Yeah. And we're realizing that many more people are realizing that as they are awakening to their own self-worth and realize that it's worth investing in themselves. And people take things more serious when they have to purchase something than if it was free. I feel like that people will honor that and have this inner understanding that this is our way of paying our you know, our house, our gas, or how we make a living, you know, is changing as we move forward.
There's more than a few people that I've met in my life that thinks that everything should be free. That every teacher or whatever it is should offer what they offer at no charge to everybody.
Hmm.
And in an ideal world, that might be possible. But and yet in the world that we currently live in, like you said, I still need to pay my rent. I still need to go to the store and give them money to buy food, and whatever it might be, the internet and all of the equipment necessary
Sure.
just to be on this call with you.
Absolutely.
There are absolutely incredible people that do this all the time. Tracy Holloway in Ireland, she made the decision she wanted all of her classes to be offered for free. And she said, I'm happy to do that, but everything needs to be taken care of. The property taxes on the house need to be paid. The electricity needs to be paid. And it has worked for her. So, it's different for others. I know people that live completely and totally without money, totally. And it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. Each and every one of us is creating the lives that we're living, whatever that life is. You're creating your life in beautiful Boise.
Yeah.
I'm creating my life here in Mount Shasta. And personally, I would find it very difficult to live without a car, to live without a home, a specific house. I know people that cross international borders without passports or identification. They don't carry identification. They don't believe in it.
Right.
And they follow their guidance as it comes through. And that's the creation that they wish for themselves.
And we talked about this on several of my last and previous shows, how each person, how we have 8 billion realities, how each person is creating their own reality, and how it's all a perspective, and how we perceive our lives. And what, it's when people get confused, when we're like, is this an illusion? What is the matrix? What does, when we speak all these languages, and if it's new to someone who hasn't heard us speak some of the things that we speak about, saying that our reality is an illusion, or, that the physical world isn't real. And so sometimes when people start hearing different information, it leads them to this place of, we don't need money, or I don't need to pay my bills, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is their soul's journey to experience what they're choosing.
What they're choosing. So the reality is that each and every one of us is the I am presence.
Exactly.
No exceptions, no separation. And from that presence, our consciousness flows down.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it becomes this holographic projection that we call our body and what is around us. So in the morning, when each one of us wakes up and we open our eyes,
Right.
we are looking at our consciousness externalized.
Sure.
That's
In
all.
the quantum field.
And at the same time, we are completely and totally dissolved back into source. There's no other way to describe that. When you have that awareness of a moment where you have just completely dissolved back in, it's it's total, you know it instantly. You know that's the only way that you can describe that's what it is. And at the same time, that there is this nothingness that is way beyond anything that we can think of in relation to the void or the ground of being. At the same time, there's still this, and they both exist at the same time.
And I've experienced that nothingness. It's incredible to be in that state, you know, which people might describe as the big void. And it's vast. It's very vast.
It's beyond, it's infinitely vast.
Yes, it's so, yes, silent, but yet there was calmness and harmony. It's very, to experience that and then to come into the individual expression from the whole to this, you realize that you are not separate. If you're able to zoom out and feel all that is, and then you come, like you said, we open our eyes to the point of consciousness that your soul or your thought is zooming in on, and that's the reality that we're perceiving and experiencing. But we're also have a collective consciousness that's at play.
So you've just described the embodiment process.
Sure.
Of what it's like to embody your I am presence, your soul,
Sure.
into the flesh. And with 8 billion people on the planet, there are 8 billion perspectives. And in terms of the way the energy field works with the collective, if you think of waves breaking on the shore, the beach, in the ocean, they come in from all directions, and then there's interference patterns that gets created where they overlap with each other. That's kind of what it's like vibrationally when working with the collective. And the other side of it is that there are multiple versions that are all frequency based of Earth. And the one that we live in is the one that we are a vibrational match to.
Sure.
And the more that we develop that solid, unwavering foundation that can't be shook off, we can't be shaken off of it. And we'll get tested, of course, and find out how stable that is. But the more solidly we are in that, we shift completely. And all of the different versions of Earth, they all interpenetrate with it. They're all present here at the same moment. They're all here. So the world that I live in is not necessarily the world that you live in. It might be.
In any given moment, it depends on what frequency we're putting out, attuning ourselves to.
Exactly.
And that is very fascinating to have that experience where moment by moment it can change. And you have to bring yourself back sometimes. And right now, what I'm experiencing, David, is the ability to shift and check in with myself, because we have two parallel realities that are side by side. We have, I'm going to speak from my point of perception. If I'm in a family situation, and a lot of us are going to step into Christmas and holiday dinners. And we just went through Many people celebrate Thanksgiving or gatherings or being together. And not everyone around us is perhaps in the same frequencies or aligned, maybe, or aware or embodied their self as much as I have or done my inner work. And I find that what I'm learning at the moment, and do chime in, David, if you're experiencing the same thing, is that I'm able to step into my heart, ask my Christ self to be present, you know, ask the Holy Spirit to come into the situation. And I see the room and everyone around me shift to match that frequency. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do. A lower vibration will, depending upon their strength, a lower vibration will always align with the higher vibration.
Yeah. And so when if things were to get a little maybe more heated or conversations were going a certain direction, I've been practicing on how to shift the conversations around me to a higher conversation. And that's been fun and fascinating playing with that field.
And again, you're describing that Ram Dass quote of, "Oh, you think you're enlightened now? Go spend a week with your family and let it go." Working with, being in the presence of everybody else with whatever stuff that they have going on.
Yeah.
That's part of the work that we're doing.
Is being around others and way showing and being the example and shining that light forth for sure. And it brings much joy to me to be around my family. I love my daughter and granddaughter and my immediate family very much, and my friends, and it brings me great joy. But we're still, at least for myself, I can feel, we were talking about how moment to moment it can change the bandwidth, the frequency, where am I vibrating at? I'm still checking in quite a bit, 3 or 4 times a day with myself.
It's always necessary to check in and see where we are. And one of the ways of doing that is to ask ourselves, how old am I? And if the immediate answer is anything other than the chronological age that you are, it means one of your kids is running the show at that particular moment. Mm. However old they may happen to be, and I don't mean your biological children, I mean your inner children. I never want to go out and get in the car and drive off someplace and know that the 16-year-old is driving.
Well, I just turned 52, and I told my friends and my family, I said, if you took 52 and switched it around, I'm 25. I just turned 25. So that's what you reminded me when you said, if you check in and who's running the show. Well, on my birthday, it was my 25-year-old.
Well,
so
that's probably somewhat similar to one of the analogies that I like to use is of a faceted diamond, which is kind of how I visually inside of myself. And you'll notice that that's the main logo on my site. That as a representation of the I am and of source consciousness, and that you can go through any facet on that diamond, and it will absolutely, unequivocally feel like you've entered into a state of enlightenment. And yet it's just a facet. It's another illusion. Until you are able to encompass in your consciousness and experience it that way, the entirety of the diamond all at once as a singularity rather than something that has individual facets. And when we're out in public, we have all of these children inside of us, and especially with family. What's really interesting about families is that you can be 52 and have gone through phenomenal changes inside yourself.
Mhm.
You can be a completely different person, and you go hang out with your family and they're going to see you as whoever they remember the most.
Yeah.
From when you were growing up. You go hang out with your mother, your father, they're going to see the little girl that they raised at whatever age they tend to be most fixed on. And vibrationally, it's easier for them because there's such a long history with the familiar unit. It's easier for them to just hook right in, stimulate us in some way, whatever it might be, and all of a sudden we revert back to being that person. It's
I was
really
going
it's really interesting to watch the patterns. And you may also notice that as we evolve, as we change, people that we used to be close to that are not changing, that are no longer even remotely a vibrational match to who we used to be,
to,
they tend to start to just fall away.
sure.
And
Not
that's
just family, but friends.
friends, absolutely. And that's another way of saying is that you have literally moved into a different version of the earth
Yeah.
where those people don't live anymore.
Right. And that can be confusing for some people, because it can kind of confuse the mind, because we've used examples like, well, let's just think of it as turning the station in your car or your radio to a different channel, and there's a different song. Even though the other one is still playing on another channel, you can tune into this one, and this one's playing here. And that's what we're doing. And as we're moving into the solstice and coming on to 2024, our shift in perception and expansion and focus is moving.
Yeah.
And I believe that is going to assist many of us moving forward into a higher bandwidth through this December and January, moving into 2024. The codes coming in for 1212, numbers, we don't have to use numbers. It's just this time of year and the gifts that are here for us to receive. Do you have anything that you would like to share about the upcoming solstice?
Well, you and I are both in the northern hemisphere, so for us it's the winter solstice.
Mm-hmm.
And I resonate with that one a lot, mostly because I was born at 12:01 midnight. So I was born in the depth of the darkness, and I would change that word darkness in terms of the place that I have always been the most comfortable is in the void.
Mm.
That's the place where my personal resonance really begins to shine is in that emptiness where there is literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It is an infinite nothingness.
Is that your happy place, stillness?
I'm really happy when it's still and quiet. I don't know that it's my happy place because I don't get to stay there all the time. None of us apparently get to stay there all the time because we're not just working in a vacuum and existing in a vacuum, although we're all doing each of us are doing our own individual work on our own individual path journey on the path that we're on. But nonetheless, sometimes we go out. You know, if you look at my personal life, I live kind of like that. I'm not somewhat of a hermit. I'm mostly a hermit. And yet when it's time to go out, I love to go. I love to go places. I love to go meet with friends and visit and do things and go out to eat, or even just something simple like I have a dental appointment on Thursday and I'm looking forward to it. I'll go out and meet some people. I'll meet people that I haven't met before. That's always really fun. And at the same time, I just, for me, apparently need lots of quiet and alone time.
We're all different in different places, and through sacred season, many of us in the north, because it's winter.
I love this time of year.
So no traveling for you in the next few months?
I'm looking to go to Seattle and visit with one of my daughters over Christmas. I don't know what that's going to be just now. I was hoping to go up over Thanksgiving, but I was ill. I still had remnants of whatever it was that I got sick with when I was in Colorado. And it may be after Christmas. I don't know about how the schedule is going to work yet, because this current Freedom course will run through every Saturday through the end of the month. And then I've also got other classes that are coming up that haven't been announced yet.
How exciting!
I know I'm looking.
New classes coming out, huh?
One is going to be a repeat. If you remember, I offered a while back a class on death and dying.
Mm.
And when I set it up using the scheduling software that I use, somehow it was entered in that the class was limited to 20 people. And I know that there was a lot more that wanted to attend. So I'm going to offer that again in a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to offer a class that I'm not going to speak a whole lot about because it's still formulating. So when a class comes through, the way the information normally, and there is no normal, the way that the information for the class comes through is through lucid dreaming. And I'm shown all of the steps of what the transmission is going to be. I'm shown the format. And if that comes through in like on a Tuesday, that doesn't mean that it's actually written in stone that this is how it's going to be. It might change 5 or 6 times by Friday, but that's how the information comes through. And then it just becomes more subtle with more details, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So knowing all of that, I'm going to offer, and knowing that 2024 is the year of the dragon, I'm going to offer a class on dragons.
I love that.
Maybe at the end of the month, maybe in January.
Now I'm going to link your website to the comments here on Facebook, but you can also tell everyone where they can find these courses and find David.
Oh, I'm easy to find. You can find me on Facebook, both my personal page and also the Eden Template. And my web address is just www.theedentemplate.com.
Beautiful. We have just a few minutes before our show is over. Would you like to share anything else with our audience?
Actually, yes, and it's very simple. remember who you are.
Mm.
You are not this small self that you might believe that you are. You are not. That's just a manifestation of your personality and the summation of all of the conditioning and programming that you may have received throughout not just this lifetime but all lifetimes. Who you are is infinite and vast. You are and always have been one with the Creator, and not in the sense of you're a part of the creation that the Creator has made. You are the Creator. You are Source. You've always been Source. There's never been a millisecond in all of your incarnational streams that you have not been connected to in that Source.
That's beautifully and well said.
Remember who you are.
Remembering who we are in every moment and really embodying that comes with a lot of self-worth and an inner understanding that we're not separate from Source.
Never have been.
And never have been. Yeah.
It's the greatest lie we've ever accepted to our consciousness.
I felt that. Thank you so much for coming last minute. I had another cancellation. I want to see you in the physical again. I'm going to have to make a trip this spring to Mount Shasta. I would like to see you. Spend some time with you.
It would be fabulous. And I haven't been in Boise in at least 10, 11 years, something like that, maybe 12.
Well, it's changed quite a bit.
It's not even, every place has changed. Boise always wanted to become a Seattle or a Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally got it. Whether they're happy with that or not, that's a whole different story.
It depends who you're asking. If you're asking the locals,
not so much.
Yeah.
Unless those locals happen to be real estate agents or developers, etc. They're quite delighted.
Well, I'm wishing you a beautiful winter solstice in Mount Shasta. It's always so lovely to feel your light and to spend this time with you and connect on all levels. I honor our friendship and our connection, David.
It's a blessing to be here with you, Anna. Thank you.
Have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
And
anytime.
Thank you to everybody that is watching.
Yes, thank you all for spending your Monday with us. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Anna. Much love.
Much love to you. Bye-bye.